the Raven Heights Radio Podcast. Get weird with us.
Welcome to Raven Heights Radio. I am your co-host, Andrew Rosa, and of course, my lovely co-host, Erica Winter.
Hey.
I'm tired of being the guy here with all the energy, and you're going, hey. Damn it, where's your sense of showmanship?
At work.
Okay, thank you for joining us once again on Raven Heights Radio. Today we're going to be talking about, well, it's a new obsession for me, one that Erica decided to share because she was feeling nostalgic and was needing to relive your teenage years.
Weird how that happened, actually.
How so?
I was listening to Nerdist, in which Chris Hardwick interviewed Michael Rosenbaum, who is the best Lex Luthor fucking ever.
I have to kind of agree now.
And through that interview, I got addicted to his podcast called Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum. And it's so great. But I obsessively listened to that for like 2 or 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. And that had me going like, fuck, I haven't watched Smallville in a really long time. It was that he did an interview with Tom Welling, who's my favorite Superman. Made me really excited. So I started watching it from the very beginning. The pilot episode that I used to have like bootleg taped on VHS when I was like 11.
I don't want to consider it bootleg until you buy it from somebody.
I mean,
you just had a homemade tape.
Yeah, I recorded it from the WB.
Oh, back when the WB was a thing.
Came out, yeah.
Oh man, I can only imagine what that tape would look like now.
I still have it.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And that's funny. You still have it, even though you have season 1 on DVD.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. I'm not the biggest Superman fan in the world. I mean,
either.
I love the character, I do. It's just that, I'm not a big comic book guy to begin with. I only like a few of the movies, and really that was kind of my introduction to it. That and the George Reeves show, because I used to watch Superman on Nick at Night. And that was my real introduction to Superman. So I got to see George Reeves as Superman before Christopher Reeve. And yeah. So that's been my image of Superman for a very long time. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy the first Superman movie as much as I can with a Lex Luthor that's obsessed with real estate and and an entire hour where it's just going through the origin and setup for Superman 2. So that's kind of where I'm at. I enjoy a few of the movies. I really enjoyed Superman Returns. It's a little harder to watch now due to certain events as of late. But I also really like the cartoon where Batman, the animated series, had proven to be a big hit. Then they decided to resuscitate Superman, and that was really good. I also loved Lois and Clark. Up until season 3, I loved Lois and Clark. So yeah, I guess I do really like Superman. I'm just not a huge comic book guy. I like a lot of the movies and TV shows, but that's about it. And just so you know, I fucking hate Man of Steel. I don't like the movie at all. I really don't like this depiction of Superman. I'm not feeling it from him. I'm tired. Superman doesn't brood. That's my big thing. If I want brooding, I'll watch Batman. I don't need to see this brooding, unhappy, stupid fucking Superman. It's lame. But the thing is this. You started watching Smallville. Now, I resisted Smallville.
You teased me about liking it.
I did, just because from what I had seen of it, it just looked like a fucking soap opera, but with a sort of superhero. And I remember how people made a big deal about, no tights ever. And I'm like, what the fuck? And you're going to stretch out his origin, which is easily the most boring fucking part of Superman for me, and stretch it out into a show before he ever puts on the tights? I don't want to see that. Like, that was my least favorite part about the Superman movie, was all the build-up to Superman. It's like, just make him Superman. That was something I liked about Tim Burton's Batman. Batman's Batman in the beginning of the movie. He's already Batman. We know who Batman is. Just let him be Batman. And
you're wearing a Batman shirt, which
yes.
is making it kind of funnier.
Now I just look like any other dorky asshole on the internet. But you put on Smallville, and now I'm older than when Smallville first came out.
I should hope so.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm 34 now, and my attitude has become more lenient. And watching it, I kind of got sucked into it because, I don't know, recently I've really gotten into The Flash, Supergirl, and sort of the Arrow. I'm not as big a fan of the Arrow as I am Flash and Supergirl. But, you know, I'm really digging those shows. And watching Smallville, I'm like, oh, God, I guess those shows kind of owe a bit to Smallville.
Yes, they do.
And because it's very similar, you know, the interpersonal relationships and how they actually get a lot of screen time. But one thing that bothered me about Smallville, other than the whole no tights ever and how they made that out to sound like a great thing, also I know they did this in the comics, and I think it's stupid there too, is the whole thing that basically Clark and Lex were like friends way back in Smallville. And I'm like, ugh, that just feels so contrived and too convenient. In fact, we've made it now up to season 4. You've gotten me that fucking hooked.
Yep. And guess what? We still have 6 more seasons to go.
Jesus Christ. Although, considering the amount of time we put in, I think it won't take us that long to get there.
No, well, here's the thing. I'm going to meet Tom Welling and Michael Rosenbaum on March 30th. So I need to have finished my now second run-through of the whole series before I go.
But now that we've gotten to season 4, now they've done other things that I kind of don't like. Whether or not they did it in the comics, I don't care because I still don't like it regardless. Now Lois has even known Clark as far back as Smallville before.
That is weird.
Yeah, again, we're getting too convenient now. It was already convenient before, but it's only getting worse. But at the same time, it's still a very enjoyable show. And before... I remember laughing at you, and I apologize, because you kept telling me Michael Rosenbaum was your favorite fucking Lex Luthor. And I'm like, personally, I feel like the only Lex Luthor that really kind of came close to what I feel Lex Luthor should be was Lois and Clark. And that's pretty much Lex Luthor for me. But seeing Michael Rosenbaum in the role...
Told you so.
I gotta say,
Since I was 11 years old, he's been my dude.
Because you have to understand, my experience with Michael Rosenbaum before Smallville was only urban legend. Okay? And
I thought you were going to say sorority boys.
No. That was my only experience, and I saw a little bit of that show you enjoyed, Impastor.
Oh, yeah, that was good. I was really sad that ended after 2 seasons.
But, you know, I'm like...
And what did I say when I watched that show? I'm like, oh, my favorite Lex Luthor is in a new TV show. I'm going to watch it.
Yeah, I know, because that's when I teased you. But now that I've seen him in the role, I'm like, fuck, you are really good. And it's not just his performance, it's also how he's written. So...
Yeah, but I would even say, like, the complexities of the character.
Yeah,
like, and the performance that, like... I get irritated with villains that are very obviously black and white. Like, well, this guy's typical and he's going to be evil and it follows this path that you see in any comic ever.
Yeah, it's kind of like how we can always pinpoint the big bad of the episode, right off the bat.
Right. And
although they could be complex too.
Well, the thing is, I mean, in Smallville, there are some typical things that you see all the time. Like, if someone smiles right back at them immediately.
Yeah, it's always the acknowledgement. It's always like the period on a sentence. That's how it was for a scene.
Right.
That, or if somebody's in a bad mood, like, oh, they just got some bad news, it's like, frowny face. The other person is like, I feel for your frowny face.
And there's and there's conversation and gestures, or there's like certain like typical things that you're expecting of a character. For example, Jonathan Kent. Anytime anything bad happens, what's he going to say? The Luthors did it. Yeah. For the first like 3 seasons, or anytime. And this has been, God, since season 1 when Clark tried to play football for the first time. It's like, I want to play football, Dad. I want to be like everybody else.
You're not the same as everyone else.
And that conversation has probably happened like 5 or 6 times.
Yeah, like this last episode, because we're like midway through season 4. And not to spoil it for those of you who have not seen it, he leaves the football team. Gives up his scholarship, the whole thing. And we have the same conversation. I'm like, are we still
Metropolis Bulldogs?
Yeah, or I thought it was Metropolis Sharks.
It was the Bulldog. I know, that's what I said.
Yeah,
I said that last episode.
I thought it was the Sharks. I thought that's what you said.
Yeah, I thought it was the Sharks, but I guess there's
Bulldogs. There's like two
or something.
Well, regardless,
Anyway.
the thing is, I'm like, he says the same goddamn thing again, and I'm like, are we still having this conversation? It's been a year, and it's. I'm like, what the fuck, man? Let it go. But just as I'm like, kind of like, okay, that cliche is kind of getting old. Then they introduce Crypto.
And
the dog.
here's more typical things, and I'm not trying to make fun of it, but it's just okay. Kryptonite is in everything.
Oh, it's the most versatile element ever.
Like kryptonite showers, kryptonite spa bath,
Skin cream, and
it's everything.
it's a steroid. It's a poison. It's all this kind of shit. And admittedly, it kind of has the Flash effect where it's like, I guess it made sense. It's easier for me to accept in the Flash because it's like, the reactor broke, so it turned a lot of people into metas. Not everybody, but a lot. But here, the meteor shower where Clark comes in, the rocks had an effect on a lot of children his age, and of course now their powers are coming out, and it's like, no! And it's always kryptonite something. And and of course that's really the only thing they have figured out is Clark's weakness. That and red kryptonite. But I
was going to say, I feel like in that writer's room, anytime that something... They're like, we don't know what we're going to do right now. It's like, well, we could do another Red Kryptonite episode.
Yeah.
And just like Lana and Chloe, their thing is always, Clark, your secrets, though.
Yeah. And that's another thing, too. I would hope that somebody in the writer's room was like, do we have to use kryptonite again? To weaken Clark. Because there was always something to weaken Clark that had to involve kryptonite somehow. Because, again, it's really his only source of weakness. That and, the people that he loves. But even then, it's like how... They did get creative as the season went on. They found other ways to, to weaken him. If not with kryptonite, not physically, then they would mentally or emotionally. And that's good. It's not always like, well, kryptonite stopped him today. And it's somebody helps him out, of course, in the last minute. But, yeah, it does kind of pain me, though, to see how versatile kryptonite is.
Yeah.
It's just getting ridiculous.
But the point I was getting at with Lex being complex and whatnot, just in the movies, he was never a character I gave much of a shit about.
No.
But, man, just the strained relationship between him and Clark, and I'm telling you, once you watch the whole series, you'll really understand, he wasn't a bad guy. It's just that when you're lied to for that long, and there's nobody in your life that you can trust, and you're constantly, shit on, eventually you're like, fuck humanity, though.
Well, let me tell you one thing, though. It really made me hate Jesse Eisenberg's performance that much more in Batman v Superman. I'm like, I hated it already.
One more thing I want to talk about before we get off here. The episode where Clark and Lionel Luthor switch bodies.
Oh, fuck. I hate those episodes usually, but it's a good one. It is a good one.
They got each other's mannerisms down to a T.
Perfect. Yeah, perfect. And I love John Glover. You guys should watch
that one.
But
I don't know. Get invested first. Be like us. Be obsessed. It's all on Hulu right now.
Yeah, I feel like at some point, maybe we'll have another episode where we can dive more into it. Maybe once we get to season 5, we can kind of...
If you guys want, and definitely give us a feedback back on Twitter or Facebook, we can do seasonally updates.
Yeah, that would
I don't know. I kind of want to pull a... Talk salad and scrambled eggs and do running commentary.
That would take forever.
It would, but wouldn't it be great?
No. I don't think we could fill an hour like that so easily.
But isn't it nice?
Unless we turned it into a drinking game. Maybe if we did a top 5 favorite episodes. Maybe then I can do that.
Okay. We'll do that. We can... It's a thought.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us. If you haven't seen Smallville, yes, go ahead. I have to admit, even if you doubted it, give it a shot.
Well, and if you're in the D.C. area, both Tom Welling and Michael Rosenbaum are going to be doing signings and stuff. So
yeah, we'll provide a link.
Yeah, we'll provide a link because I'll be there. So
right on. Yeah. So thank you very much for listening. I am Andrew Rosa and
America.
Signing off.